This is Two Teachers Chat with your hosts, Brenda McCrate and Peggy Wilbur.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Peggy.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
And we are
Two Teachers Chat.
So what's our question for today?
The question that I have is, how does a teacher get the bang for her buck or his buck out of every lesson?
Well, of course, that deals with time. We're all crunched for time, and we've got to fit in exactly what we want the kids to learn. And so, for instance, the main thing that we want to begin with is a really clear learning target. Learning target for you, an objective for you or a learning target, and a learning target or objective for the kids. Now, I've watched a lot of different teachers teach, and sometimes I go in and there's a very clear learning target on the board, and the teacher talks about it with the kids, maybe explains a little of the vocabulary, and the kids understand where they're headed, and so does the teacher. So I see a lot less rabbit trails in that lesson, and I see kids who know where they're going even when the steps the teacher's teaching may not always be clear to them. Then I go into other classrooms and they have a learning target up on the board. It might be a generic one. Sometimes they go over it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it matches their lesson and sometimes it doesn't. And those children lose focus because we all have steps we have to take to get to a certain learning target or a certain objective. And you have holistic learners in many classrooms. I mean, not everybody is like that. Some of us, you give us step by step and we're fine. We nod, we follow, we trust you, we go. That's me. I have other friends who, if they don't see the end product, that's a holistic learner, they can't follow the steps because they don't see where they're headed. And that's what a learning target does for you. It makes a clear vision of the end of the lesson.
So give us an example of a learning target and then how you would use it in a classroom.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to do reading because reading can be very amorphous sometimes. And we talk about understanding. Even the standards talk about understanding. But you can't measure understanding really well. So for instance, there's one that's throughout elementary school is asking and answering questions, right? So I might have a big objective for a whole section of reading or a whole unit that is I can ask and answer questions using a text. But underneath that, my learning target, if I really want to focus my lesson, both for my kids and myself, would be something like I can find text evidence to answer questions, period. So I'm going to talk to the kids about that. That's the first thing you want to do. They can read it. You can read it.
The learning target.
The learning target. So
read it from the board.
Read it from the board. You can talk about it. You can say to them, especially if you've done it before, so what do you think this means? It depends on how much time. And time is always important, so we might not want to spend a lot of time digging everything out. We might just have it read. If you're like one of my teachers who could never remember to read it, you assign it as a job, and that child
will
that
always
week
remind you
says, I get to read the learning target.
Yes, I like that.
And I love that because
Yes.
it instills it in them that there should be a learning target and that they need to know it.
And it has value.
And it has value. So first they read it, and you can say, okay, so what does text mean? Especially if they're little. And they'll say, oh, that's what we read. And what is evidence? Oh, that's what shows us what the answer is. Bingo, they've got it. So then you want to keep going back and referring to that learning target and to make sure that you're focusing on it. So you teach for a while, you model, you do your stuff, and we'll get into that in succeeding sessions. And then somewhere in the middle of your lesson, you want to make sure that you go back. So I like to have a quick checkup. I will say, okay, guys, so we're about halfway through. We've done a few examples together. Give me an idea of how you're feeling about I can find text evidence to answer questions. We've done about 3. So, thumbs up if you're just so cool with this and you could do it. No help needed. Sideways if you still feel you'd like a few more examples, you want a little help. And thumbs down if you're really kind of lost and you're not getting it today, because I know you'll get it later. And at first, you'll get all thumbs up and smiley faces. After you do that for a while and they realize, oh, she really didn't help me because I put my thumb up and I didn't get the help I needed. And then when it came to the end of the lesson, I wasn't there. And you talk about honesty in a safe, you've built your safe environment and everything. You get really honest answers. Or even, I went to the bathroom. I missed half the lesson, so I am a thumbs down. Sorry, And you go, okay, and then you keep teaching, and you might know, okay, this small group, I'm going to pull together with me. The rest of you guys, I have the 3 questions up on the board. I want you can talk to a partner, but I want you to try it, and I want you 5 that gave me the sideways thumbs, we're going to work on a couple more, okay, gang? Together, and we're going to get a little more practice. And then at the end, you want some kind, and where I taught, we call them exit tickets. I think that's kind of the common name. At the end, even if you're going to be doing this for days, you want some kind of exit ticket. Now, it could just be whiteboards and they write an answer, or they find the text evidence and they hold it up, and you can kind of do a quick survey, write on a little sticky note the kids who are struggling and the kids who aced it, and everybody else is kind of in between, and you know where you need to do more work. It could be a paper one. It could be with little kids. It could be an oral one where you walk around and you ask every kid. And the thing is, if you have a nice, clear learning target, then you know exactly, and the kids know exactly what you're trying to assess. And so at the end, you go back. You say, now we're going to do an exit ticket, and let's go over our learning target. I can find text evidence to answer questions. So here's the question you have to find, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I want you to do this on a piece of, here's a little strip of paper or whatever you want to do, whiteboard or whatever. And then, again, I like them to self-evaluate. I mean, as a teacher, I need the exit ticket because I need to be doing informal assessments, which we'll get into all kinds of assessments to do in a later stage. But I need that assessment. But you know what? The kids need to self-evaluate. So even at the end, I might say the thumbs up that I showed you before, or I could do fist to 5. I can say, okay, so if you think you found the right answer, give yourself a point. If you think you found some text, give yourself a point. If you found a lot of text, give yourself another point. If you wrote your answer in a nice complete sentence, give yourself another point. And if you remembered capitals and periods, give yourself a 5. And you kind of walk them through that checklist. And pretty soon you can just say, fist to 5, how are we doing? How did we do on this? And then hopefully most of them match what you actually are looking at the exit ticket. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. They have to get used to it. But what you're doing for the kids is they have focused 3 times in the lesson on what I should have learned or what I should be learning. And you are focusing yourself back to that. So and this happens in reading because there's so much to teach in reading. So you're reading along with the kids and you forget about the questioning, and all of a sudden you're talking about, what is the setting and what are the characters and because the elements of story are so important. And then you go back and go, oh yeah, but which is all very important, boys and girls. But let's get back to finding text evidence and letting me teach you how to do that. And we'll keep those story elements for another learning target and another day.
And what's cool about what you're talking about is when you're talking about how the teacher assesses how the students, how well did they learn this, then that sort of will reflect back onto, next time I teach this, I might, make the learning target even more specific because it was too big of a learning target.
Yeah.
Or, they got it really fast. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe it was too small and I could have done more. And like if I'm going to have a great big one, like, I can do long division problems. And we know long division has multiple steps.
Right.
Underneath that, I'm going to have little sub-learning targets or sub-objectives that I can check off with the kids. I remember to do this, or I can do this, or I can do this. Science is great for that. You have a big learning target, and then you have the processes underneath. So even high school, think about your big learning target, but then think about those small objectives that get you to that learning target. Because if the kids know what they have to do to get there, again, it's making it internal for them, and learning needs to be internalized. And then for you as a teacher, it makes you very clear on what that one lesson is about, and you don't wander as much. I mean, we all wander.
Well, it really
sometimes.
sets up your ability to find out who learned this step and who didn't.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And learning targets need to be something you can actually measure. So I can answer questions. That's okay. But I can use text evidence to answer questions much more specific. I understand why the South lost the Civil War or whatever. Really hard. But I can give 3 reasons, or I can explain the problem that caused whatever. You got to be able to measure it. It can't be just I can understand or I can do. It's explain, give examples, do a process. All of those are going to be learning targets that are doable and specific, and will focus your lesson.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're out of coffee.
Okay, so
yes.
Good luck. Focus your lessons and
We'll see
write
you
those
next
learning
time.
targets.
Yes, write those learning targets. Thank you.
Thank you for watching 2 Teachers Chat. Until next time, and remember, teachers touch lives forever.